I'd like to call the Planning Commission meeting to order, please. Welcome anybody who's here. One announcement, the meeting is being simultaneously televised on TV 15, if anyone would like to watch it, or I think it comes up periodically after that on a kind of a routine basis. Celeste, does the staff have any announcements?
Good evening, Commissioners. We do have a couple announcements this evening. I wanted to introduce our new planner that we have hired with the city. Her name is Brittany Shao. She comes from Sugar Land. She was born and raised there. She graduated from the University of Pennsylvania with a bachelor's in urban studies. So, Brittany, you want to stand up?
Hi, everyone. It's nice
Welcome.
to meet you all.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to have you.
Congratulations.
Welcome aboard.
And our second announcement is we are, the item C4 for our public hearing was noticed, which was the Texas Hinton subdivision. However, the owner has withdrawn their request, so we'll bring that to you at another time. So I just wanted to make that for the record since we had already noticed it.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd like to recognize any citizens in the audience that would like to speak to the commission on any matter that's not on the agenda. Seeing none, we'll move on to our first item is a variance request for the original Townsite Resubdivision 91. May I have the staff report, please?
Yes, good evening again, Commissioners. This project is located at 101 and 105 South William Street, being legally described as the original town site re-subdivision number 91, block 143, lot 1R and 4R. The current property existed as a single commercial lot. The property owner is requesting a variance to replat the property into two commercial lots, with one lot being below the minimum lot requirement of 100 feet wide for a commercial lot. They're actually asking for lot 1R to have a lot width of 72.35 feet. It is being developed into two off-street parking sites. The granting of this variance would allow for the property owner to plat this property into two commercial lots. The variance would allow for Lot 1R to be created with that lot width of 72.35 feet while meeting all other requirements. Lot 4R meets all the minimum standards and does not require any variances. The final plat for the original re-subdivision number 91 is the proposed final plat of .887 acres. The subject property is located at 101 and 105 South William Street and lies within the city's corporate city limits. The property currently exists as a commercial lot and is being replatted into two commercial lots. Access to the subdivision will be from East Santa Rosa Street, South William Street, and East Constitution, all existing local streets. The final plat will meet all applicable ordinances with approval of the variance. Staff recommends approval of the variance request to allow for the replat of the existing commercial lot into the new two commercial lots, with the one lot 1R being below the minimum lot requirement. The property has been developed and has existed as this commercial lot configuration for years. Staff has determined that allowing the subdivision of the lot into the two commercials for the proposed off-street parking lot would not significantly change the existing character of the neighborhood and would not be detrimental to the surrounding lots. It would allow for orderly development of the neighborhood. Furthermore, the subject property is located within the downtown area where the minimum commercial lot standards are excessive for the character of the surrounding built environment. Staff would also recommend approval of the final plat for the original town site re-subdivision number 1, conditioned upon the final approval of the variance by City Council.
Thank you. At this time, we'd like to open the public hearing on this matter. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And is there any discussion, comments from council members?
I just had a question.
Sure.
This is a general question, and it was directed towards staff.
Sure.
If there was ever a number that would never get approved for its variances, like for its feet wise, like if this 72, but if it was like 50 or 40. Now, I'm asking that just for information, because I'm quite sure it's probably based on if it's a hazard or long as it doesn't go against any of the hazards or anything of that nature, right?
That is correct. So we would look at each individual variance on a case-by-case basis. So for instance, in the downtown area, some commercial lots have been established with a minimum of 25 feet to 40 to 50. So we would just really have to look at how it has been existing and how it would affect the surrounding properties should it be granted.
Thank you.
We ultimately look at the developability of the property and what are the plans to develop the property.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Do we have a motion to adopt the variance?
I make
My
a
motion
motion.
move be adopted.
Mike Atkinson
I'll second it.
and Dr. Hunt, second. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, the variance has been adopted. And I guess we need to take action on the final, approving the final plat.
That'll
The
be,
final plat would be.
It's in our consent?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The next agenda item is a variance request and the preliminary plat for the ranches at TerraVista. May we have the staff report, please?
Yes, this property is located at the end of TerraVista Ranch Road, adjacent to the ranches of TerraVista Phase 1, and is legally described as being 12.4 acre tract of land situated in the Jose L. Carbajal Grant Abstract 12 and being a portion of the Levi and Company subdivision in Victoria County, Texas. The property owner is looking for a variance on allowing one access point for a subdivision that is going to have over 50 lots. Currently, our ordinance stands that any subdivision that has over 50 lots is required to have 2 points of access to a public roadway. This is currently a phase subdivision. Currently, the first subdivision in Phase 1 was platted in 2014 with, sorry, I lost my number.
38.
38 lots. The new Phase 2 is looking to add an additional 16, putting them at 54. The property owner is proposing an alternative second point of access for emergency purposes. The property owner is proposing a 20-foot paved emergency access point between lots 6 and 7, Block 4 of Phase 2 to the adjacent undeveloped property. The proposed second emergency access point will allow for the connection access to be made once the adjacent property develops. The proposed emergency access will connect to Bianchi Drive. I'm going to get the plot up there so y'all can see the proposed. The granting of this variance would allow the property owner to plat Phase 2 with 16 single-family residential lots into HOA common areas. The variance will allow for the fully developed two-phase subdivision to be platted with only one access point to the public roadway while containing more than 50 lots. The preliminary plat, the subject property is located northeast of the intersection of TerraVista Ranch Road and Chisholm Trail. It's approximately a 12.4 acre tract. The subject property is currently located within the city's corporate city limits. The subject property is currently undeveloped. The preliminary plat proposes to plat the property into 16 single-family residential lots and 2 common area lots dedicated to the HOA. The proposed preliminary plat depicts the future dedication of 60 feet of right-of-way required for the extension of one local street, which is TerraVista Ranch Road. The preliminary plat also shows the dedication of 17.5 feet of right-of-way for the future expansion of Bianchi Drive. Access to the subdivision will be from TerraVista Ranch Road. Staff recommends approval of the variance request to allow for the approval of the preliminary plat of a multi-phase subdivision to only one access point to a public roadway while containing more than 50 lots, conditioned upon providing a secondary emergency 20-foot paved access point to the fully developed subdivision. The Fire Marshal's Office supports this recommendation. Staff also recommends the approval of the preliminary plat for the Ranches of TerraVista Phase 2, conditioned upon the final approval of the requested variance by City Council.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the staff? At this time, we'd like to open the public hearing on this agenda item. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and open it for discussion with.
It looks to me what you're doing here is you're not making a street, you're making something one notch above an alley.
It's 20-foot paved to allow for emergency vehicles to get in and out if necessary.
And that'll be for a street in the future to be located at right
Once,
angles to that, I assume, or maybe at the end
Yes,
of another
so-
street or something.
eventually, when that undeveloped property decides on what exactly the development, that 20-foot paved will be transitioned into a full paved road to allow even that second access point.
Well, a
Hey,
portion
who
of
owns
it,
that property in there?
it's still Steve Klein, so a portion of it would transition into a fully paved road, but the portion between the two houses, or the two lots, would still just be a 20-foot, basically driveway that meets the access easements for a fire truck.
And who's responsible for maintaining that?
The homeowners association.
Okay, the homeowners association has to take care of it. Okay.
Just, I'm kind of a little bit confused on this one. It says future fire lane connectivity to Bianchi Drive, so it's going to just, it would just wind around here and come back up and hit Bianchi Drive north, on the north side.
Oh, you can see how it's kind of curvilinear.
Yeah, it curves around.
Right, so you'll have kind of a similar situation of having the 20-foot separating, or between two lots, and then
Right.
it will end into an actual road that is proposed as that rest of that land is developed into a future phase. There will be access to Bianchi with a public road access to Bianchi, and so that access easement will spill out into a public road.
Is there any other access similar to this within the same subdivision? Or is this the only one of its kind, or?
We have done these emergency access easements. I know in the past, I'm having a hard time, I believe Capstone maybe have one, but I don't believe there's any other in TerraVista. But there has been precedent in this past, we have platted.
Other subdivision.
platted.
If the homeowners association is responsible for maintaining this, are they aware of this additional cost they've taken on, responsibility they've taken on?
So those haven't been filed yet. So we'd have to work through on how that homeowner association, if it's just for this phase or this plat, or if it is the entire, usually the developer has control of the entire association until it's
Until
completely done.
they've sold a certain number of lots.
Is there anything blocking public traffic through there? Is it barricaded off or anything, so for emergency vehicles? Or is it just like a street, basically?
So it'll be a drive, like a private drive. If they were to block it for access, there would have to be a Knox box or some sort of, something approved by the fire marshal's office to block it. And the fire marshal's office does have, or the fire department does have mechanisms where they can install and block it if it becomes a problem and they want to do that. They just have to get that approval from the fire department.
Okay, so this is something we just approve and eventually just goes derelict and is ignored and blocked and used and turns into a parking lot or whatever in the future. It remains functionally useful, in other words.
It'll always be there as long as that subdivision's there.
Right.
And I guess my only other question, and you're calling it a 20-foot, but it's showing a 15-foot fire utility and building line easement.
It's
On
50
each
feet on
side.
each side, so it's 30 foot.
That's,
but
which is 30 foot.
the pavement portion has to be
Would only be
20
20, okay, to be able to accommodate a fire truck or?
Yes.
Okay.
And
So
we-
you basically have 10 extra feet if you needed it.
And it was already said that the fire marshal and them, they approved it, were going on. And then even that area, I believe is good, and maybe it's just the security in me, where you have a exit for emergency purposes and not one way out. So I actually believe is a good thing, and I think that it actually makes it easier for future references when they do, that they can already just go through, because they already have that, that's there if they want to turn it to a regular street or to whatever.
Well, it seems like a practical solution to the problem.
And really for any kind of emergency vehicles, not just fire,
Yeah.
ambulances, police. Any other questions or comments? May I have a motion on approving the variance?
I'll motion.
Mr. Olguin,
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Atkinson. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the variance has been adopted. I believe we do need to approve the preliminary plat.
Yes.
May we have a motion to approve the preliminary plat for the ranches at TerraVista?
I'll
So
make a
move.
motion.
Dr. Hunt, seconded by.
Second.
Everybody hold your hand up.
I know.
All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. I believe our next item, pardon me? Who was the second? You can take your pick, but I
Yeah,
think.
any of us down here.
Our next item is a variance request for the preliminary plat for the Covey at Quail Creek. May we have the staff report, please?
Yes. This is the preliminary plat for the Covey of Quail Creek, and it will also contain the final plat report for the Covey at Quail Creek Phase 1. This project is north of the intersection of Business 59 and Zach Lentz Parkway in the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction, and being the same tract of land described as 6.5 acres conveyed from the Frank Jr. Hernandez to the Rodriguez Investment Group LP by deed dated March 6, 2018, as recorded in the official records of instrument 20182552. The preliminary plat for the Covey of Quail Creek is a proposed preliminary plat of 6.59 acres. The subject property is bounded by Turkey Lane, Dove Drive, and Warehouse Road, located north of the intersection of Business 59 and Zach Lentz Parkway in the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction. The property is currently undeveloped and is being platted into 21 single-family residential lots within Block 1. The development of the Covey of Quail Creek shall be completed in 2 phases. Access to the subdivision will be provided via local streets Turkey Lane, Warehouse Road, and Dove Drive. The final plat for the Covey at Quail Creek Phase 1 is a proposed final plat of 3.51 acres. The subject property is bounded by Turkey Lane, Dove Drive, and Warehouse Road, located north of the intersection of Business 59 and Zach Lentz Parkway. The property is undeveloped and is being developed into 11 single-family residential lots. Access to the subdivision will be provided via local streets Turkey Lane, Warehouse Road, and Dove Drive. Staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat for the Covey of Quail Creek and the final plat for the Covey at Quail Creek Phase 1, finding they meet all applicable ordinances and regulations.
Any questions of the staff on this agenda item? If not, we'll open the public hearing on this agenda item at this time. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and take questions and comments from the commission. Looks pretty straightforward. Can I have a motion to adopt the preliminary plat?
Make the motion.
Dr. Hunt, seconded by Mr. Atkinson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passed. The preliminary plat is adopted. At this time, I believe our next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at review the meeting minutes? Are there any questions or comments or changes? And then our other items on there would be the final plat for the original Townsite re-subdivision, subject, I think, to the council adopting the variance, and then the final plat for the Covey at Quail Creek. Any questions or comments about the consent agenda? All in favor of approving it? Say aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Consent agenda has been adopted. And our other business would be the monthly development report, please, Celeste.
So we have had a busy month in April. We had 4 minor plats, 4 major plats, 10 site plans submitted, and our 2 council items were approved by council in that first meeting in May.
At 100.
Our permit numbers are up from last year, so we are seeing that booming again. Our MEP permits are up as well from last year, and we have an increase in permit fees from last year, so definitely they are building. Any questions regarding the monthly reports?
Looks good. Thank you. Any other items from the commissioners? Hearing none, I think we can adjourn this meeting. It was good to be back together again.
Yes, you better
I
believe it.
much prefer it to the old
This feels
Zoom,
like a
Absolutely.
real meeting.
real people. Thank y'all very much.